So now that we have our control rods done and our rod ends installed, and we've deburred our brackets that we're going to attach to the chassis, we're going to proceed with lowering the chassis into position and get it set at ride height, and that's a dimension that we took prior off another vehicle to at least have a starting point, a ballpark figure you might say, in order to dial in exactly where we want the stance of the vehicle, as well as being able to hang some plumb bobs on the axle center line in order to have a reference point so we know where to position the brackets on the inside of the chassis. The kit comes with dimensions. However, we want to double check some things and make sure that everything's coming in just right. And so, as they say, measure twice, cut once. And that's exactly what we want to do. All right, let's get to it. Give you a little initial. These brackets here mount to the inside of the frame rail, just above the bottom of the chassis, and just forward of all these crossmember tubes. So we're going to get this measured up for the correct axle center to rod end center line and get these babies tacked on here. It's a really clean setup, and I think it'll look really good and perform equally as good as well. So what's interesting about things you find on the internet is there's two dimensions as far as where the axle center line is supposed to be. I don't know if you can see that, but see our original C's, which represent the chassis center line? Well, that was our original dimension that we got off the internet. And we just want to be, of the two dimensions, we're favoring the one that is closer to the back bumper. We've got a discrepancy of 3/8 of an inch off the internet and off of sources. And like I said before, we want to favor being towards the back bumper as opposed to the front bumper. You can always bring the axle forward easy enough, but you don't want to build a second set of longer control arms in order to push the axle back and to avoid running out of threads with your rod ends. Nice thing with adjustable rod ends, just need to be close. Not within thousandths, but within a 1/16, I would think. That's why we have adjustability. Okay, so I got some marks, and then I know front to back where I'm supposed to be. Now I just need to, I kind of like the idea of some 1/4 inch flat bar setting down there. That would give me a little ledge. And then I just line up my marks, and then I could tack a couple spots, and away we go. Very cool. I like it. So you're probably wondering what this is all about. You see some housing ends welded to some stubby little tubes, and you got these little stubby axles. Well, we're going to show you. Well, you're probably wondering, what in the world is this? Doesn't quite look like a rear end, does it? It's not. It's a measuring device that we made because we had some scrap parts laying around, and this will make it easier to dial in the width. We already know the ballpark width based on years ago previously mocking up these wheels and tires underneath the body and the fenders when it had a stock chassis. And we came up with 56.5, so we know that that is our starting point. This will make it super easy to be able to kind of mock a lot of stuff up before we build the rear end housing, that is. So we decided it'd be easier to tack these brackets with everything out of the way. And we'll just get them true to each other and at the correct center to center. Lightly tack it like I mentioned before, and then we'll start mocking up with the suspension control rods. just setting the stuff together, be able to do a mock-up, which enables us to proceed one step further. There you have it, one step further. So we did a few things off camera because it probably just some boring stuff like cutting some wood blocks. And so, you know, we don't have the coilover mounts done, but in order to dial in the ride height, which then will dictate where we put the coilover upper mount, we just cut some wood blocks, set them in there, and so the weight of the chassis is on the wood blocks. You're like, why is that? Well, okay, so that gives us a starting point, because we're going to dial in a number of things once we set the body on here, such as the ride height, the fore and aft of the axle center line. I'm going to dial that in so the tire is completely aligned to the fender opening. I swapped out the front coilovers for some adjustable solid strut rods to be able to dial in the front ride height. This center to center on these solid strut rods is very ballpark and gives us a starting point once again.